Hello, we're getting ready to look at lesson 9. I'm going to remind you to watch the Eureka video first with Mrs. Oh dear, I can't think of her name right at the moment, but the other new teacher. Then you're going to be doing the application problem. Don't forget to use cubes and read, draw, and write. It is a 2-part problem, so I would divide my paper into 2 parts. Do part A in the first rectangle and part B in the second rectangle. Okay, then you are going to, oh dear, let's see here. Then you are going to be doing the problem set, and you have to circle whether or not the shape that you're looking at has 2 equal shares with 1 share shaded. So you're looking to see if these 3 shapes have, sorry, the vacuum cleaner came out in the hall and I had to go close my door. So back to what I was saying, you're going to circle the shapes that have 2 equal shares, paying attention to that key word, 2 equal shares and 1 shaded part. So you're circling the ones that have 2 equal shares and ones that do not. You're going to, on number 2, shade half. This is going to be 1/2. You're shading 1/2 of the shapes that are split into 2 equal shares. And the first one has been done for you. So if it doesn't have 2 equal shares, you're going to cross it out. Cross out anything that does not have 2 equal shares. Okay, so you're crossing out anything that does not have 2 equal shares. And you are going to be, let's see. Oh, you have to shade half. So be sure that you shade half. This first one has been done for you. And then if it doesn't have 2 equal shares, you're crossing it out. Cross out not equal shares. Crossing out not equal shares. Okay, then you're moving right along. And you are coming to a continuation of the problem set. Partition is a word that means to divide. If you partition something, you divide the shapes into halves. We use the word partition when we're working with fractions, but it also means to divide the shapes in halves. Make sure that that you show equal shares. Don't forget to show equal shares, otherwise that won't work. So you're showing equal shares, and then you have to shade half of each. Okay? Then you're going to compare your halves with partners, but since you don't have partners at home, you're going to have mom and dad look over it with you and see if they agree with how you partitioned or divided each one of these shapes all the way down to the bottom. And there's lots of different ways that they could be divided. And then, before we get to the exit ticket, there are 2 template pieces that I need to have you do, and they are a part of your packet. I'm going to show you the first template piece. This is template number 1, and you have a big circle here. They want to know, does this circle have equal shares? Well, you're not going to know that until you shade half of it. So you're going to have to divide this circle up so that you can shade half of it, and then you're checking to see if what you did has equal shares. Okay, so first of all, you're going to have to shade half of this circle. You're going to have to decide how you're going to divide it, and then you have to ask yourself the question, does what you did have equal shares? And then you're going to do the same thing on this one. You're going to be looking at each of these shapes, and if it has, you're going to tell if it has equal shares. Okay, that's your first question. Does it have, or tell if it has equal shares? That's number 1. And then you have to decide, is it divided in half? Is it partitioned, if I'm looking for the right word. So you have to tell if it has equal shares, is it partitioned or divided in half, and the last thing you need to say, cross it out if both answers are not yes. So if it does not have equal shares, or if it's not partitioned in half, then you need to cross it out if both answers are not yes. So you're asking two questions about each one of the shapes. Tell if it has equal shapes, and I would write it right out. Yes, it has equal shapes. Is it partitioned or divided in half? I would answer that question as well. And then you need to go through and answer two questions for each one of these 6 shapes. So you're asking, does it have equal shares? If it does, say yes. If it is partitioned or divided in half, you need to say yes. If both of the answers to those first two questions are not yes, then you're going to cross it out. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing on template number 2. And then you're coming back to the exit ticket. So the exit ticket you need to send to your teacher. So you're sending that exit ticket to your teacher. You're going to shade half of the shapes that are split into 2 equal shares. So you're shading half of the shapes that are split into 2 equal shares. They have to show 2 equal shares, or you should not be shading. So shade half of the shapes that are split into 2 equal shares. If not, cross them out, like we did on the practice pages. Alrighty? If not, they can't answer both of those questions, shade half of it, and is it 2 equal shares, then you're just crossing it out and going to the next one. Okay? Alrighty, and with that, I'm going to tell you now that you need to pause the video and get ready to do the work on your own, starting with the application problem. And when you're finished, you are coming back to see me, and we will go over the page and see how you did. Okay, ready? And pause that video. Hey, are you back? Alrighty, so let's see how you did on what you were supposed to practice today. So again, remember that you needed to use cubes and read, draw, and write. Mrs. Thompson's class raised $96 for a field trip. They need to raise a total of $120. So I did part A in my first rectangle and part B in my second rectangle. So I'm not going to worry about part B right now. How much more money do they need to raise in order to reach their goal? I set this up with my number bond and also a bar model. I know that they needed to have $120, which is my whole, and the one part that I do know is right now they have $96. I need to know how much more money do they need in order to be able to get to that $100. So when I set up my bar model, I made sure that my whole was at the top. This is the total number. 96 is what they have right now. And this is what we're trying to find out. What do they still need in order to get to that $120? So I used a subtraction problems. I can't take 6 ones. I'm going to just rework this really fast here just so that you can see what's going on. It's a subtraction problem. I'm taking a close look at my whole. I can't take 6 ones away from 0 ones, so I need to decompose a 10, which is leaving me 1 10, and that decomposed 10 is now over here up in my ones. So now I have 10 ones, take away 6 ones is 4 ones. I cannot take 9 ones away from, or 9 tens away from 1 10, so I'm decomposing 100. That's leaving me with 10 or 0, and 11 tens take away 9 tens is 2 tens. So I know then that they still need to earn $24 more in order to get up to 120. So the missing side of my number bond is 24. All right, so now let's look at part B. If they raised $86 more, how much extra, that's a big cool word, how much extra money will they need? So I know they raised at $86 all in total, or they raised $86 more than what they needed. They only needed to have 24, so I need to find out how much extra money they had. 86 would be my whole, because that's how much money they raised. They only needed 24, so if I set this up, I would use a subtraction problem. 6 ones take away 4 ones is 2 ones, and 8 tens take away 2 tens is 6 tens. They would have 62 extra dollars to spend. 62 extra and 62 extra. I hope that you had a very good experience and that you got both of those right. Second graders should be able to solve these kinds of word problems by the end of second grade, which we're there, friends. We are at the end of second grade, so you should be able to solve those kinds of word problems. All right, let's go ahead and come over to the next page. We had this one and this one that you should have circled. This one has equal shares because both sides of the partition are the same size and the same shade, and that half of it was shaded. This one did not have equal shares, so what I shaded was not half. Remember, I was going to have to show equal shares with one shaded share. So these shares are not equal, therefore that's not going to work. These two are equal shares and half of it has been shaded. This one does not have equal, or this one only has 1 out of the 3 shaded. Even though it does have equal shares, it does have 3 equal shares, but only 1/3 of them, or excuse me, 1/3 has been shaded, and so therefore it does not have equal shares. I mean, it does have equal shares, but only 1/3 of it has been shaded, which means that it's been divided into more than 2 equal shares. It's been divided into 3. Okay, so coming down to number 2, this one has equal shares and half is shaded. This one has equal shares and I've shaded half. This does not have equal shares, so I'm crossing that one out. This one, I had to split it into 2 equal shares. It has been split into 3 equal shares, so that one would not be what we're looking for. This one has equal shares and has been divided into 2 equal shares. This one has equal shares and half of it has been shaded. This one has equal shares and half has been shaded. If you'll notice, this circle has not been divided exactly down the middle. This part is a little bit bigger than this part, so it does not have equal shares. Moving down to letter I, we have equal shares and half of it has been shaded. This square has equal shares, half of it has been shaded, and this circle has been divided exactly in half. I've shaded half, and it does have equal shares. Okay, so now I've got to come over to the problem set continuing. I had to partition or divide these shapes into halves. And I've just done my very best to see if I could get about in the middle of each one of these shapes. If your shape is not partitioned with it exactly in the middle, would that be right? No, because those are not equal shares. So you need to be careful to try and make sure that you get your partition as close to the center as possible. So this is what those would look like. Here's your oval. I divided mine this way, but you could have also divided it the other direction. Here's my rectangle divided into 2 equal shares or 2 equal halves. And oh, I was supposed to shade. I didn't do that. How about if I do that right now? So let's go ahead and shade this one. Wow, Miss Star, you didn't read all those instructions. I'm going to shade this half. I'm going to shade this half. I'm going to shade the top half to show that I have 2 equal shares, and I'm shading half. I'm going to shade half of this rectangle. I'm going to shade half of this rectangle. Wow, you could have probably done these other ways besides the ways I did them, but I found ways that I thought were interesting. And of course, I'm shading half of this one. There we go. Okay, there. Alrighty. That's a little bit tricky on some of those, but I'm sure you can figure out what you were supposed to be doing to get those equal shares, to partition and divide them into halves, and then shade half, 1/2 of each. And then compare your halves with partners. Okay, got to skip the exit ticket. And then we're coming over to the second part of the template. And this first piece here, the rectangle, has equal shares and half of it has been shaded. This one does not have equal shares, so half of it is not shaded, and I had to cross it out. I hope you did too. Half is shaded, but it does not have equal shares. So because I can't answer yes to both of those questions, that one has to go away, because it's got 3 parts and they're not equal. This one is equal shares and half is shaded. This one is equal shares and half of it is shaded, and this one is equal shares and half of it is shaded. It's just these two, B and C, that had an issue. This one was not shaded in equal shares, so I couldn't shade half. And this one was divided into 3 parts, which means that I don't have equal shares. Even though half of it has been shaded, it's still not equal shares. Alrighty then, and let's take a look at your circle. You should have cut your circle out and put that yes, each of my halves are equal shares. I hope you folded that. That's how I got mine so nice and perfect. It's because I folded it and then I opened it back up and I shaded half. All right, and it wouldn't matter what direction you did that. It wouldn't matter where your line was as long as you had it divided into equal shares. It just depends. And I just folded mine because it made it very easy for me to do that. And then with that, my friends, if you've got all that taken care of, then you're going to hop on over to the exit ticket. Here's the exit ticket that you're going to send to your teacher. You're going to shade half of the shapes that are split into 2 equal shares. And if not, then you're going to cross them out. If you can't answer yes to both of these questions, you have to say yes, I can shade half, and yes, it is 2 equal shares. If you can't, then you're going to cross them out like we've done with some of the others in our practice today. That, my friends, is the end of this lesson, and when you're done with that, you're going to send it to your teacher, and I'm going to tell you to have a wonderful day of learning.